we're still at 1 damage. We're so far away from losing that we can actually, take the time to actually toy with our opponent and just like ruin their day with front row locks and relocks.
Few moments later.
I mean, I'm pretty ambivalent. I think relocking is good. I think relocking is good.
10 seconds later.
Yeah. Good deck, good deck, good deck, good deck. Hey yo, how's it going everyone? Entropy here today with another video. Today we're going to be doing the first most hyped anticipated deck profile of this set, of set 14, and that is the Clown Prince himself, Chaos Breaker Dragon. Or some may call him Counterblast Dragon. Yes, I know the memes, but is it really that bad? No, definitely not. Experience has showed us on the JP side that we shouldn't let memes be dreams, and Chaos is just as menacing as he was in the TCG. Now, let's just quickly go over the deck profile and then go playtest this right after. First of all, we're going to be playing White Knight Fenrir. White Knight Fenrir is really flexible. When this unit boosts a unit at the end of the battle, this unit boosted a unit with LB4. Put this into the soul, draw 1 card. The deck doesn't really need soul, but it does really quite nice, like the draw 1. There aren't a lot of great options right now with Link Joker, and we'll compare it with other starters really quick, but White Knight Fenrir, definitely really consistent, and just a solid card overall. For Palladium, Prison Gate Star Vader Palladium, skill Rearguard Circle. At the start of the turn, kind of must want put this unit into the soul to lock a rearguard unlock during your opponent's preceding end phase. So this card is honestly the cheapest front row lock you will get, and definitely really strong. Put into soul, kind of must one, relock anything. Enough said, right? 4 PGs, pretty standard. 2 7+3 neons. It's a great attacker. You'll notice that Star Vader doesn't really have a good advantage engine, especially with Counterblast Dragons. Chaos Breaker Dragons discard 2. It is sometimes rough in terms of card advantage, so having the neon as a 10k beater by itself, hit through intercepts and whatnot, is solid. And I've been testing 2 or 3. I think 2 is fine enough because Lanthanum, that a card that we used to be playing 4 of, is still solid and still can hit 10k numbers. As a 3 of Rearguard, when your opponent's Rearguard is locked by a card effect, this card gets +3. So which one is better? Honestly, I think it's to each their own. You generally want to play 3 and 2 of one or the other. Right now, I think Lanthanum is nice because it helps you build up your 10k booster numbers, while Neon can't do that. But Neon is better in the early game and when you're lacking in card resource management. So depending on your grade 2 and grade 3 lineup, you can flip or like play around with these numbers. But I'll explain how you can do that later. We're playing 4 Colony Makers. I really like consistency. I live by it. Like, I know some lists play like 3-3-3-2 or some like weird combination. 3-3-3-4, 13, right? 3-3-3-4 or some like odd number like 3-3-3-2-2 or some like weird grade 2 lineups. And I really don't like that because why play 3 when you can play 4, right? Like, if you're gonna commit to the card, you're gonna be playing 4. Like, there's just my 2 cents. Rearguard Circle in place if your opponent has a lock card. Count last 1 to call a grade 1 or less Star Vader from your deck. Note that this does not say, your Vanguard has to be Star Vader, so this is splashable and Schwartz Shield, which is really nice as well, and I'm having fun with, but definitely not as good as this build. This card is great, kind of must one, +1. You're probably going to be called out Palladium if you're early game Neon, and mostly Lanthanum after your Palladium. So Palladium is my first target, second target is Lanthanum, third target is Neon, and then don't call it a PG probably unless you really need the final push. Definitely really great. You're probably going to be using this post turn 3 because we're not playing any lockers grade 2 or below. So that's a trouble. Like, if you're playing 4, it might clog. So generally speaking, if I see this in my opening hand, I just like to play it out as a 9k beater. It's fine like that, and it is still solid. Playing 4 12k beaters, 4 10k beaters, and 1 11k beater. Hitting numbers is really important. This deck really does want to push and then force your opponent to counterplay, lock them out of the game, and then just finish out the game. Really solid like that. 12k beater is really great addition. It's really strong. 10k beater, I think it's really balanced, especially with your units being able to lock down like front rows or back rows even. Back row lock is not that strong, but when you have a 10k beater, it shuts down combos. So it is really solid like that. in a meta that I'm seeing a lot of 9k combo plays, like, you know, a lot of 9k grade 2s are really popular right now in like Dark Irregulars or in Pale Moon. The 10k kind of shuts down those numbers and forces your opponent to commit more, which means more locking opportunities as well. In decks that are kind of popular right now, like Dimension Police or like Blouse, they generally like to play at least 2 10k vanillas. So 10k can actually hit over 10k. If you're playing too many 9ks like Mobius Breaths, you can't really hit a lot of stuff, and Mobius Breath is only active on turn 2 as the Vanguard, which I found really not good enough right now. So that's just what I'm choosing. The last 1-off slot, I know a lot of people are playing what's it called? The Singularity Sniper. I know a lot of people might be still playing Mobius Breath. Tungsten is solid as an 11k offense or defense. It kind of works similar to the 10k kind of idea, but conditionally if you have a lock. Again, Mobius Breath I think is not that great right now. And Singularity Sniper, one of the issues with Singularity Sniper I have with is that it's not a Starvader name. And you're like, well, it's a one-off. If it's a one-off, I'm okay with. Like, I've played with one-off Singularity Sniper. Sometimes as a 2-of or 3-of, it clogs your hands. And as an AK beater itself, that doesn't really get power outside of maybe Nebula's boost or a booster itself. It's a bit rough. And I think Singularity Sniper is still a good card, but it's mostly used as a punish. If you choose to play it and replace Tungsten, I definitely do recommend testing it to your liking. Maybe cut a 10k or a Colony Maker and play 2. And I think that's a comfortable number that I've seen success with as well. But just personally, whenever I go Chaos Breaker Dragon first ride, I definitely do not want to have too many non-Starvader names. And that has definitely bite me in the ass as well. So next up we have the boss unit, Chaos Breaker Dragon SP, by the way. Vanguard Circle Limit Break 4 at the start of your turn. Kind of must want to retire a rearguard unlock during your opponent's preceding end phase. If you retire, draw a card. So it's a great option to just get rid of a unit and draw, because, you know, Starvaders are weak at that. In addition, as Vanguard, once per turn, kind of must want to discard 2 Starvaders to lock one of your opponent's rearguards. Don't note that this card does not say Limit Break 4, so you can actually use this as early as your first ride. Lock down your opponent's front row or something, and then your opponent basically has to only play with 2 columns, which is really strong. And in addition, sometimes you might want to most of the time you might want to relock with Palladium, but Chaos itself has the kind of must want to retire. And this card, well, if your opponent's at 4 or 5, right, and your opponent like unlocks like a grade 2 or something, kind of must want to retire and draw 1, fuels your endgame push, and still gets rid of the intercepts, right? So it is still strong like that. The unlock to draw, I definitely would prioritize unlocking to draw like the back row, to retire the back row, and relocking the front row, obviously, because front row lock is amazing. Sometimes you don't get to choose, and be flexible with Chaos Breaker. It works well by itself, and it's just a great card overall. You play 4 Infinite Zeros, it's still amazing. On Break Ride, kind of must 1, get +10, lock 1 front row and back row. Synergizes well with Nebula, synergizes well with Chaos Breaker, synergizes well with Multiverse Dragon, which we'll go over later. But itself also gets on attack +3, so with whichever the 3, well, you basically get like, you lock down one of your opponent's columns, you lock down one of your opponent's back rows. Most of these units can lock additional units, and it's just amazing. Synergizes well with Palladium because, well, kind of must 1 lock 2 units. You have 2 units options to relock, so it's great. For Nebula Lord Dragon, actually performing much better now because you have cards that support it and generate more advantage. Vanguard Circle Limit Break 4 at the start of your battle phase, all of your front row gets +3 for each of your opponent's lock cards, and if you have 3 or more, draw a card. So on Break Ride, you lock 2, kind of must 1 to lock one of your opponent's back row rearguards. You have 3, your front row gets +9, and you draw a card, which is great. In addition, you know, the extra power lets you just hit over numbers. So if your opponent's at 3, and you just get to lock out your opponent's intercepts, you go 3 to face, and it's nice like that. Kind of must 1 to lock is also not limited to Limit Break 4, so it synergizes well with stuff like Tungsten and early Colony Maker plays. Definitely really solid. And last card is Multiverse Dragon. This card replaced Knight of Entropy, which I'm a bit iffy about. Multiverse Dragon is pretty poor, honestly, but the best part about it is the Starvader name. Vanguard Circle, Limit Break 4 on place, kind of must 2 to lock one of your opponent's rearguards, and this gets +5. Definitely, how often are you at limit break for when you have to ride this unit? Probably when you have to break ride, but I'd rather break ride to Nebula or Chaos Breaker Dragon. But what Multiverse Dragon gives you is a cheap, not requiring, you know, discarding hand to front row lock. So if you break ride, you basically triangle lock with counter +3. Your Vanguard hits 26k numbers. I'm sure you can plus with Colony Maker and build nice columns as well, so that's solid. Going back to the grade 1 lineup, if you are playing less Colony Makers, I would play probably play more neons and stuff. You know, just having more options to tech out the 10k beater. And also because you're going to be less card advantage savvy, I guess you do want to draw into those units that can do stuff by itself better. So playing more neons is probably better than the lanthanums. Some other options for your grade 0, I think a great option is the Selenium, because especially if you're playing a lot of non-Star Vader names, Selenium on lock bounces back to your hand. It's guaranteed 1 Star Vader name in your hand, which is Counterblast Dragons, Chaos Breaker Dragons cost, which is solid. But since most of my deck, I mean all of my deck are Star Vaders, I don't really see a reason to play this. I think what else is solid? Obius Dreath, I think, is still okay, because a lot of decks nowadays are still reliant on their starters. In addition, if this is the only grade 2 unit, the only unit you have is the Vanguard. What it does is it locks your opponent's back row starter, generally speaking, and it forces your opponent to commit an extra booster in order to actually potentially deal 2 damage. And if you hit a trigger, it means your opponent has to hit 1 too. So it's solid like that. It's great as a defensive options, but I might as well play more consistent options as rearguard. Alternatives for my offense, and it's solid like that. Singularity Sniper, we talked about. Neobium, I think is all right, but if you want to hit your numbers, Lanthanum helps you do that already, and that's searchable. Neobium is not. But overall, that's basically it. You might consider playing the Native Entropy still instead of the Multiverse Dragon, but Counter +2 is quite hefty. You might as well just go into Chaos Breaker. And yeah, I think overall your main ride target for grade 1 is going to be the Lanthanum. Your main ride target for grade 2 is going to be the 10k or the Tungsten or the Colony Maker. I think Colony Maker is also a decent ride target, since you won't be using more than 2 or 3 times of the Colony Maker. And your main ride target for grade 3 is, depending on the matchup, Chaos Breaker Dragon or Infinite Zero. I think these are both great. And then Nebula Lord and a Multiverse Dragon is Nebula Lord and then Multiverse Dragon, since Nebula Lord can still do stuff before LB4. Multiverse Dragon is kind of a late game ride target, and if you ride it early, it's pretty useless. So that's my priority list. Hope that helps. I know I don't really go into specifics that well sometimes, so hope that helps. And let's get straight into a game and see how this goes. So I've actually tested a lot of variants of this over the last 2 days, since it just came out yesterday, really. But if you are interested in my initial list, go check out the day 1 stream. Playtesting a lot of different variants of different builds, and it's always nice. Definitely this is only day 2. I am confident about this build. I think it's solid, but there's definitely room for improvement, and the list should change as the meta evolves, right? So definitely something to consider. Don't blindly copy JP lists. Don't blindly copy like my list, for example. If you're watching this like 2 weeks down the line, the meta could be very, very different, and that's something to consider. Against Nova Grapplers, locking them is really, really solid. Infinite Zero is a great ride target. I think everything else is fine. Don't be greedy. Just as long as you have a grade 1, grade 2, and your ideal grade 3 target, then you're good to go. Playing the Blouse are actually really solid. It's honestly one of my favorite decks to play this set, outside of CBD. I just think CBD is just strong. Full stop. Morgan Row just helps you plus every single turn. We drew into 2 CBDs, and one of my favorite parts about this deck is that, well, if you are a player that just you know, you're down on luck, you always draw your grade 3s, like me sometimes, Chaos Breaker Dragon actually makes use of the grade 3s that you just brick with, and at least you can discard them to do something, right? Some decks just, you know, have them clogged in your hand and you can't do much, and that sucks. But Chaos Breaker Dragon can actually make use of them, especially in the early game, to front row lock and then actually make the game go your way. So that's really solid. Nothing much here. We're going to use Morgan Row. Mars. Infinite, of course, the grade 3s, as we just said. Nothing much here. Again, note that Starvaders aren't really that great in terms of advantage building. So chill on the stuff, but heal is good. If we call it the 12k beater, unless we sack the trigger and they didn't, then it wouldn't hit. So there's no reason to overcommit for that. Might as well save it for later. Here, I'm actually considering going into the chaos, but it really depends on how much damage they give me. So if they give me like 2 or 3 damage, maybe I'll go into the break ride. But depends on how many intercepts they have as well. Because the break ride for them is quite big. So hit 24, 29. Of course, sack your triggers, my friend. So here, going straight into the chaos is actually quite nice because then we can push them to 4. And their break ride turn is going to be ineffective because they only have 2 columns to actually restand and do plays. Of course, that is provided we actually draw into grid 1, which we did, so that's solid. Let's go into chaos straight up. So amazing. What a Chad. And as we said, we're going to make use of our dead grade 3s. And save your resources. There's no reason to overcommit. We're just going to sack heals left and right. That's really good. When if and rear goes into soul draw 1. Beam. Wow. And now Nova Grappler player is like sad because they're like, if I break right and I restand, I only get to restand 1. But Galaxy Blaukluger is also really solid. One of the challenges with Blau is that you really need to be really good with counterblast management. I mean, that's the same for counterblast dragon. That's where the name came from, right? But overall, I don't think it's that difficult. Just be careful with your plays. Don't overextend. That's basically all you need to know. Like here, when your opponent's at 4 or 5, do you really need to relock with Palladium and like, you know, lose 1 unit as an offensive option, or would you rather just retire it and just draw an extra card and just push? It really depends on the cards in your opponent's hand as well, but overall here I'm leaning towards relocking since we're still at 1 damage. We're so far away from losing that we can actually, you know, take the time to actually toy with our opponent and just like ruin their day with front row locks and relocks. It's nice like that, this deck. So PG, that's 1 PG. And lag. And lag. Sometimes the game does that. And draw trigger, of course. Another draw trigger. Ooh, we hit a draw trigger, but it doesn't really help. But a PG is always solid. Morgan Row. Morgan Row also shuffles the deck, so that means that the PG at the bottom of the deck could just come back to the top. Just restand. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You just gotta push. Yep. Draw trigger, that's solid. Another Palladium. SP, by the way, super fancy. Alright, let's relock. It loops through the animation, like the turn. It's really weird. Weird code, but okay. Let's see here. We can lock and hit 20k numbers. I think that's pretty solid as well. Let's see, 12. Discard the grade 3s that you brick with, because that's how you play the game. Let's discard the PG. Like, there's no way they can break through this, right? It's like it's a joke right now. The next turn, we're just gonna relock everything, and then it's GGWP. We attack with Vanguard first, because if we hit a heal, then we get to heal. They hit a heal, which is unfortunate. But that is 24. Boing. But yeah, like, their Vanguard needs to hit a Vanguard, and, well, they can't really do anything outside that. So, like, Joker is pretty good. Who knew front row lock is pretty good? Next turn, we have 2 Palladiums. We're just gonna relock. We can even choose to retire it and relock one, and then I think that's basically game, right? Unless they sack like 2 heals in a row. Relocking, setting up your Lanthanums for relock is also really good. 22k column, right? So if they're gonna attack, they probably want to attack into this one, into the 12k meter on the right with the Lanthanum, because it hits 21k or above numbers. But they hit the wrong one, unfortunate. Yeah, no. So here, let's put the one behind the Vanguard. Relock this. And we're gonna, should we relock or you know, kind of must want to draw one? I mean, I'm pretty ambivalent. I think relocking is good. And then we do this. We're gonna protect our little Bay Palladium. And we're gonna swing. And if they hit a heal, we have another 25k number to actually beat through the heal this time around. So we comfy like that. And yeah. Good deck. Solid. Yep, that's the power of Link Joker. By the way, get the skin, it's pretty good. Yep. Yeah, so as you see, I think one of the key things that people need to know is that you don't need to rely on Infinite Zero as much now, because Chaos Breaker Dragon is just really good. Nothing much to be said. I think one of the things that we didn't really get to show was Colony Maker. So you'll know that a lot of lists play like 3 or like even awkward lists with 2. Like, as you can see, even with 4, you don't really get to see a lot of it. So I think that you should play 4. As you can see, Palladium is really good. Chaos Breaker Dragon is really good. Like, these two hard carry the deck. Even if you brick and draw like 4 grade 3s in like turn 2, you can still do it. You can still do it because it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan, okay? So that's basically the list. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions down below. And I mean, I have decks for DP, for Dimension Police. I have one, for Dimension Robos. I have one for Zeal. I have one for, what's the other one? New Blouse, the one that we just played against. And we also have one for OTK Blouse. So 4 different decks. Comment down below, let me know which one you would like to see. And I will see you all soon. Bye.